Happy Wednesday. Thank you for joining me here. My name is Alyssa Thomas from Penguin and Fish, where we make lovely and quirky hand embroidery kits. And I'm here every weeknight at 8:30 p.m. Central Time. That's 9:30 Pacific and 9:30 Eastern and 6:30 Pacific. Sorry about that. And it's a time where we can relax and craft together for about an hour here in the evenings. And I work on projects from beginning to end. So you can be part of the process the whole way and ask your questions and help me through any problems that come up and just come in and chit chat. But tonight is a little special. Tonight we're taking a little bit of a break from our normal Splendid Sampler 2 quilt along project. And we are going to learn about the chain stitch in embroidery. And here is an example of a chain stitch right there. This is what we'll be working on tonight. Our little zebra here is the finished guy right there. Look, all of his little stripies are made out of a chain stitch. So I'm showing you guys this tonight, just so if you have any chain stitch questions, I'm going to show you 3 different ways to do it. And actually they kind of get easier and easier. It's my normal way that I typically do it, and then like 2 ways that I think are maybe a little bit easier than the way that I'm most comfortable doing it, just because it's the one that I always started when I was little. So we'll go over those, but I'm showing you guys these because we are having a retirement sale for 3 of our embroidery kits. And the 3 are the zebra here. So the zebra, and then we also have the monkey, and it's in reverse for you guys just because Facebook is flipping it right now, but obviously the type won't be backwards, and then the alligator here. And each one of these kits are showing, they kind of feature at least one embroidery stitch that's a little bit special, I think. So, and in this case with the zebra, it's that chain stitch. So for the next 3 days, including today, we will be going over one of these stitches for each of the designs here. So today is the chain stitch. Tomorrow here we will be working on French knots, like these little French knot guys there. And then, okay, so I think we might have froze a little bit there, but all right, so tomorrow we're going to be working on the French knots, and I'll show you some things that you might be doing wrong if you are having trouble with French knots. Also, stay tuned to tomorrow's email. Tomorrow's email will have photos, just like today's email, on how to do the French knots, the photos with descriptions. So if you liked today's email with the chain stitch, then make sure to check tomorrow's for the French knots, and then Friday we will be doing a satin stitch. So if you look real close, the spiky guys on his back here and his little teeth are all with satin stitch. So be sure to check your next couple of emails over the next couple of days. And then again, tonight and tomorrow and Friday, we will be working on these stitches. So bring your questions and get your needles and thread out, and we will work on those. And be sure to check out the link below to get on the special. There is a special for these 3 retiring kits. That just means I'm not going to be printing them anymore. So whatever I have now for the kits, that's all there is. And I have the least amount of zebras, so after the zebras go away, then this deal kind of goes away. It's till the end of the month, so Saturday. So if you get the bundle of all 3 kits, then you also get like a free surprise gift with purchase that's worth at least $25, probably a bit more than $25. And then I'll send the whole thing to you. So it'll be a special gift with purchase just until Saturday, or until I run out of these bundles of 3. So that's the deal. That's why we're working on it today. You can find it at Penguin and Fish, and it's in the retiring products section, or just click the link below here. So thank you guys. Let's flip around, and you can ask your questions. I will show you how to do the chain stitch how I showed in the email today first, and then we'll look at 2 different ways that you can give it a go. So, all right, I'm going to flip you guys around, and we'll give it a go. All right, there's our splendid sampler project. We'll come back to that. But here we are tonight. Let me get a little situated here so you can see. Sorry for all the wiggling. And I'll get a little bit closer for you guys too. And this wiggle will go away in a sec here. Okay, so this is, again, let me show you the finished design. In the zebra pattern, the zebra kit, all of these light purple, all of his little stripes are done with a chain stitch. And I said in my newsletter, one of my favorite things about the chain stitch is it looks just like a crocheted chain stitch, or almost like little knit stitches. So it just refers back to like those other 2 crafts that I really, really love. So I think they're just so adorable. They have some dimension to them. So if you want to have like a slightly thicker line, like here's a back stitch. There's my back stitch there. And obviously a chain stitch, it has like 2 threads next to each other, so it's going to be fatter. So if you need like a little fatter line in your stitching, and you want it to be a little bit fun, a little bit decorative there, then a chain stitch might be a decision you go with for that. So this is the one that I did in the photos in the email, and I already ironed it on. So this is from the iron-on transfer that comes with the kit, and this is the fabric that comes with the kit as well. It also comes with a floss and hoop and everything. I'm using some recycled floss here, but I'm going to first separate my floss into 3 strands. I like working with 3 strands. In all the photos on my kits, they're all with 3 strands. I just like the look of it. If you want more strands, then it'll be a thicker line. If you do less strands, it'll be a thinner line. And that's basically the reasoning behind different number of strands. It's 6-strand embroidery floss, so it comes obviously with 6 strands. I split it into 3 by pulling each one out like that. We'll pull it together again. Where's that other end? Come here. I hope you all are having a nice Wednesday. It was a gorgeous day out again today. I was inside most of the day, so I didn't get to really enjoy it. But that blue sky sure is pretty. Oh yay, Lori, you ordered the retirement package today. Oh, you love how I did the zebra. Oh, good. I'm glad you like it. I hope you like stitching it. So it will. They'll all go out. I'm probably gonna get them all out by Sunday. So they'll take a little longer than usual, but I'm gonna get them out this weekend, or by the end of the weekend. They might even go out tomorrow. So the sale runs till Saturday. I think I'll probably wait till the end of Saturday to start getting things sent out, so you can start seeing them then. All right, you guys, let's just pick a place to start. I think let's try this long line here. I have no reason for picking that first, other than it's long and we can talk about it for a little bit. Typically, I'd probably start, on one side and kind of work my way over. I started yesterday. I did this one here just because we have that little point in the middle or corner, and I wanted to show you guys how to do a corner. How to do the corner is the same way as how we'll end a row, and we can do a corner as well too. But let's just play around with this long area here. So I started by tying a knot in my thread, but I'm not going to just pull up and start on the line. I'm going to actually start way up here. I'm going to go with the needle on the top and go to the back, and this is going to be my away knot. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this off later and weave the ends in. You can see I've woven the ends into this, and there's no knots. It's perfectly smooth. and I like stitching that way so my floss on the back doesn't accidentally get caught on a knot. So it looks like a lot of wasted floss, but I think it's worth it. So, all right, we are going to stitch this line, and I'm going to start at the tail here and go this way. So you kind of need to know what direction you want to go in. All right, so I'm going to start right at the beginning of the line there. All right, so I'm going to make kind of like a loop, and I'm going to go in the exact same hole. So you see how I made like this kind of open space here? That's what I'm going for. And then I put the needle in the exact same hole that we started out with, and I'm going to pull it a little bit, but not too far, and then I'm going to come up about a stitch length away. I mean, you can do any like a 1/16 of an inch to a 1/4 of an inch. It's just kind of how big you want your stitches. This is, I don't know, maybe a little bit bigger than 1/8 of an inch. I'm going to come up with the needle before I pull any more thread through because I want my needle to go through this loop here. All right, so once I'm sure that it's going through this loop, then I'm going to pull, and then it's going to pull the loop tighter and tighter and tighter until it doesn't have any place else to go. So, and it doesn't have anywhere else to go because we pulled that thread up in the middle of that loop. So you can see I kind of left it a little loose. You don't want to pull it too tight, because if you pull it too tight, like I'm really pulling here, then it almost looks like one solid stitch. But we want it to have like that pretty little loop to it. So I'm going to just pull this, make this loose again. Oop, missed a thread. There we go. And now I'm going to just pull it. Oh, it got a little funny for me pulling it out, but I'm going to just leave it having kind of that loop shape. I'm not going to pull it super tight. Oh, you're right. I totally did the wrong line. You're right, Deborah. Okay, let's do that again, because why not? Get it out of there again. Wrong line. You are right. Okay, so let's try that again. I'm going to kind of hold this off to the side again, make my little kind of thread loop, and I'm going to go right in that hole again, and then I'm going to come up in the middle of the loop on the real line. There we go. Now let's pull that through. And there's our little loop. There we go. Now we're good. Jennifer, I'm using 3 strands of floss, and that's just because I like the thickness of what that ends up being. If you use more strands, it'll end up being a thicker, fatter line. If you use less strands, it'll be less. It'll be a thinner line, I mean. All right, so for the next stitch, I'm going to do the exact same thing. I'm going to make my kind of loop, and I'm going to go in the same hole that we just came out of. So where we just finished the last stitch, I'm going to put the needle into that. And again, I'm not going to pull it through all the way. I'm going to bring it up in between this loop on the next part of the line. And I'm not going to pull it super tight. I'm going to leave that pretty like teardrop shape. So there we go. Oh, you guys, is it going in and out for you today? It seems like it's working for some people, but maybe not for everyone. I will definitely be putting this up on YouTube, so it will be there for sure if you guys are having trouble tonight. But it seems okay on my side so far. Hopefully it gets better. All right, so I'm going to just keep making these loops. You can use your thumb to kind of hold it there. If you don't get the loop, like if it moves off to the side, like your needle is not in the loop, you can just move the thread so it goes around the needle again. Oh, Grace, I didn't see that yet. I'll have to ask her about it. Well, that's exciting. All right, so I'm gonna stitch to the end of this line. Sometimes this is easier when, because I'm using two hands, I'm holding it with one hand here. Sometimes it's easier just to rest it on a table or on your lap a little bit. So like I'm gonna just rest the top there. And I'm just rotating this so it's just easy for me. Whatever feels the easiest to hold. Like sometimes maybe I'll go this way. Just setting that up there to make a loop. Oh, the focus is a little blurred for you. Oh man, I don't know what the problem is. Well, it does look okay for me, so I'll for sure. And the YouTube is just a screen grab of what I'm seeing, so the YouTube of this will be fine. Oop, got a little stuck there. There we go. I'm going to do 2 more stitches here, I think. All right, like here. I'm not like right in the middle, so I'm going to just put that over, put the loop over here. Okay, 1 more. Oh, focus is okay in Kansas. Okay, that's good to hear. All right, so there's our last one. But one thing we need to do with chain stitches is we need to anchor the last piece down, the last loop, because otherwise, first of all, this thread needs somewhere to go, and if you don't anchor it down, it'll flop up like this, right? And we don't want like a crazy loose loop somewhere. So I am just going to make an anchor stitch. I'm going to go, I think you guys can see this, I'm going to go directly on the other side of the loop. So right on the other side, maybe a thread or 2 away from where this is coming out of the fabric there. So just the important part is that I'm on the other side of the loop. There you go. So right there, you can see the tiny anchor stitch. So, and now my loop is held down. So this row is done at this point. Oh, you find it cumbersome using a hoop. It makes your hands hurt. Oh, well then definitely don't use it. You don't actually need a hoop to do embroidery. It is helpful because you can see the whole thing, but and it helps with just like tension. But once you get used to like how tight to pull your thread and everything, then you probably don't need a hoop. Okay. Oh, same there for Leslie and Catherine. You don't like using hoops. Oh, that's so interesting. Yeah, go for it. Okay, so how we anchored it here, that is the same thing we did here at the corner. And that's because the same thing at a corner, if you don't anchor it, then you'll have this loop will want to like travel down the next thing and you won't have a nice sharp corner. So if you look closely, after I did these 3 stitches, I made a little anchor stitch there. And then I started the next row. I started the next stitch just like in the middle of the loop here, and I just started the next row. And we can go over that. We'll do a little one here. But I wanted to show you guys another way to do the chain stitch. And if you guys are not using hoops, this is probably, if you know how to do the chain stitch, this is probably your favorite way of doing it. So for this way, this is kind of like the stabbing method of embroidery is what I was just doing. I'm going to do the sewing method now, and I'll show you the difference. I'm going to make my fabric a little looser in the hoop because it's a little easier to do the sewing method with your fabric a little more loose. And so if you are not using hoops, then this is the way to go. I'm going to just, because it's right next to this, I'm going to go up this line here. So same thing, I'm going to come up at the start of my line, and I'm still going to kind of make that loop like this, but instead of going all the way down and then coming up in a separate motion, I'm going to do it all in one motion. So there we go, in and out like that, and then I can actually wrap this underneath the needle like that. You don't really have to do that, but you can. Then you know for sure that it's inside the loop. And then you just pull. So it makes it really easy. So like I don't even have to I don't have to make my loop. I could just start. Let's just go in and out like that. And then we'll just take that last part and wrap it underneath the part that just came out of the last hole there. Oh, you like you definitely like the stabbing method. It looks better. So I learned how to embroider using the stabbing method. That's where you go all the way down and pull the thread all the way through before coming up, versus the sewing method where you go in and out in one motion. I personally like the stabbing method as well because I think you get a little bit more accuracy than what you do with the sewing, like, because coming in like this at an angle, it's hard to get the exact thread where you want it, I find sometimes. But actually the sewing method, I think, ends up being a little faster because there's less movements of your hands, I think. So it's just a preference. If I want to be super exact, like I really need to get something perfect, then I'll do the stabbing method. But yeah, it's just kind of whatever you're more comfortable with. But really, I think this is maybe even a little easier. So we're going to get easier and easier with these methods. But there you go. So that's the sewing method. And we didn't lock down our stitch there yet. So I'm going to do my little anchor stitch just on the other side of that loop. So it's just a tiny, tiny, tiny little stitch that holds it down there. All right. So for the last little way to do a chain stitch, I'm going to come down this line here. And I kind of call this a reverse chain stitch. Actually, I'm going to go over here just so I'm a little farther away from this line. Obviously, if I was stitching this for real, I wouldn't be jumping around all over the place. I would start here and I'd work all the lines and go all the way up, or the vice versa, or whatever. But, doesn't matter. So I think I have enough thread for one more row, just barely. With this line here, I will do the last way, and this might actually be the easiest way to do it. It's the way that I've learned most recently, so I don't use it very often, but I really should because it is easy. So it's kind of like a reverse chain stitch. So it's just like what it means. We're going to do it in reverse. So instead of starting with a loop, we are going to start with our tiny anchor stitch. So I'm going to make an anchor stitch right at the start here. Okay, so I'm going to leave it a little loose so I can see the hole in there yet, just for the first thing. And then I'm going to come like a stitch length away. And I'm going to go through that anchor stitch like that. That's just to get it started. So I'm gonna pull that anchor stitch tight now. And there we go. So it's in that anchor stitch. And then I'm going to come down in the same place that I came out right there. So that's the only weird part. But look, there, we got our little chain stitch. But now this is the cool part. This is the part that I just freaking love and why I should do this more often, this style of chain stitch. Watch this. So I'm going to start the next stitch. We'll go stitch length away again. But now all I have to do is run the needle under these last two stitches, just like that, and pull it and go back in that same hole. So easy. I don't have floss flopping all over the place. Gosh, actually, that was so much more comfortable to do. I don't have to worry what this floss is doing. I just go through those loops and make another stitch. Oh, I really should make this my go-to way of doing this. I think it's less likely to have knots. I can hold the hoop really easily. I don't have to have this hand working the thread or anything. So this is probably the easiest way to do a chain stitch. So it's just that first little bit that's a little weird. You got to make that anchor stitch first and get your loop through there and pull everything tight. But after that, I mean, this is slick, isn't it? Ugh, I really should do this more. I like this one. It just feels more comfortable immediately because I'm not dealing with all the floss everywhere. And we don't have to do that anchor stitch at the end because we already did it at the beginning. To finish this stitch, this is all we have to do. We're done. So, oh gosh, Joe, I don't know where I learned this method. You know, I do a lot of embroidery research, so I kind of randomly pick up stuff here and there from different websites. But isn't that just so easy? So that really should be my favorite method. All right, you know, I'm kind of running out of thread here, but let's see if I can do this little bit here. Oh, I probably don't have enough thread, but we can start another piece of thread. So when you run out of thread, you can just weave in the ends. Oop. And then you won't have a crazy knot on the back. Oh, and just something to note when you're doing a chain stitch, and you might have picked up on this from me stitching this just now, it uses a lot of floss. So you're making like you're making a stitch that's like 2 threads wide, plus you almost have like a full stitch on the back too. So you're using up the floss. So whenever you have a project that's going to use a lot of chain stitches, make sure you have more floss than usual, like, you know, versus, you know, what you would use for your back stitch or something like that. All right, so here's that knot again, that away knot. I'm going to snip that off now. Here's my little knot. That's garbage. But now here is that thread left over. That is just enough for me to weave in the beginning of our floss as well, so we don't have any knots on the back. So when I talk about away knots and stuff, this is what I'm talking about. And the whole purpose is, I mean, it's not just that it looks really pretty. You end up with a really nice, clean back. But my big thing is I hate when my thread accidentally gets snagged on knots on the back. Like, you could be stitching for a whole long time, but then you didn't realize that, oh, there's a knot right there, and your thread has, you know, like if my needle right here is like a knot, you know, oh, it got caught in the knot, and then you kept stitching, and so now you have this big giant loop on the back. Like, that's super frustrating. And a lot of times when you're stitching, if you have a knot, you'll pull the little frizzy ends. You'll pull those to the front, and they're hard to get to the back again, and so that's annoying. So I try to avoid knots altogether. And this is super smooth. Nothing will catch on it. There's no loose ends anywhere. I love it. I rarely deviate from doing that. But I just want to show you guys how to do a corner really quick. And I'm going to do the old way of doing it just to share with you guys. So now I have enough stitches on here that I don't need to do an away knot. I'm going to just stitch in the back of some stitches that are already here. So that'll use less floss. All right. So I always go 3 times. It's that third time that kind of locks the thread in place. So, all right, I'm going to do this little corner here. I just want to show you a corner quick. It's just like how you end a row. I'm going to do it the old-fashioned way, though. My old stabbing method, but man, now I just really want to do that new way of doing everything. That new way of chain stitching, or the reverse. I guess it's probably not new. Ooh, I probably wouldn't have so many little thread issues either. One thread just doesn't want to pull through at the same rate here. Probably wouldn't have those issues if I did it the old way, or the reverse way. Okay, so now we're at that point. But I just want to show you what happens if you don't put an anchor stitch there. Like, let's say I just continue. All right, so I'm putting in the next stitch. We'll go down this side here. But look what happens if we don't anchor this down. It might look good at the very beginning, like this point here, but after a while, this is going to just shift down like that, and then you'll have like this crazy loop sitting here, and you won't have that nice sharp point. So anytime I have a corner, like if I'm stitching a square or anything that feels like it's going to do this, I will lock it down beforehand. So let's back up here a little bit. I'm going to take that last loop out. All right, let's thread that again. Okay. So we just finished this stitch here. So let's add that anchor stitch. All right, so I'm just gonna go right on the other side of that again, like a thread length away from where it's coming out of the fabric. The thread's coming out of the fabric. And, oop, got a little knot there. Or it's just really twisty. And there we go. So that is our little anchor stitch there. So now to start the next row, or to continue the line, I'm gonna come up through this little loop that we made here. Come on. There we go. So I'm in the loop there. And see, it's not moving now because it's locked down. So we'll go in the same hole again there. I'm gonna just do this in one big stitch. So again, get in the middle of that circle. And lock it down with the anchor stitch. And there we go. So that is nice and sharp, and that is not moving at all. So whenever you come to a point like that, I would recommend anchoring it down. But there we go. That's coming along. I mean, that didn't take all that long either. Oh gosh, they're just fun to stitch. I'm gonna do one more row where we do that new way, just because it's fun. One thing to notice is the direction of your loops. So like here, it's together at the bottom and the teardrop shape is here. That loop is up on the top. This one is going the opposite direction. If you are super want them to go in the exact same direction, then you're gonna have to pay attention to that. One way to do that, now that I'm thinking out loud, is if you go back and forth like this, because like, where did I end? Oh, I ended at the bottom here. So I'm not going to want to jump all the way up here. I'll go to here. But I could do it the normal way, or like the forward way, the non-reversed way, and it would make the same shape. But, all right, let's say I did that here. But instead of jumping to here to do the same, so the loops are in the same direction, I could just jump here and then do the reverse way back down. So that would be a way to do it. So why don't we do that? Let's go up here. We'll use the sewing method so that all these loops are going in the same direction. And then here we'll do the reverse mesh method down so the loops are still the same direction. I have no reason whatsoever that I care if those loops are in the same direction. However, if you are stitching maybe like, I don't know, some flower stems or something where for some reason you want like an upward motion and maybe one line going down would kind of like, I don't know, mess that up for some reason, then maybe it's something you want to pay attention to. But yeah, so we're going to do the sewing method up. Sewing method just because it's a little bit faster than the stabbing. And we just did the stabbing for the last one. kind of easier to wrap it around there. Oh man, I'm digging the reverse way though. Not having to deal with this extra floss and stuff just seems like it's going to be a bit easier. All right, last one here. Oop, missed a piece of floss. Let's try that again. There we go. Oh, I caught the thread all goofy there. There we go. Oh, good, Kathy. I'm glad you're liking this. I'm hoping to do some more videos like this. Tomorrow, again, just to let you guys know, we'll be doing the French knot. And I bet you if you are having trouble with the French knot, you're doing one of three things. We've talked about this a little bit before, but it's good to go over again. How do you keep the floss from twisting? One thing is by separating the three strands, that will help a little bit, and then putting them back together. A lot of times it's just because it's rubbing against another piece, or I've kind of stabbed it somewhere in the back and separated. So I might have just like stabbed it a little bit, and that might have messed things up a little bit. Ooh, I have a big loop here. Yeah, I think I'm just stabbing it funny in the back. But like I said, this other method, I kind of avoid that altogether. So here's the reverse method, where I make that little anchor stitch first. This way, the thread is fumbling around a lot less. I'm gonna leave that loop a little bit bigger and make my first stitch and go through that loop. But then I gotta pull it tight after that. There we go, pulling it tight. This way, I think the thread is not going all over the place as much, and I can actually like feel it go in the back with my thumb here, because my fingers, because my left hand, because it's not doing anything else. So I think this method, this reverse method, is actually going to keep the threads from twisting and going all over the place. I have more control. So this would be one way to keep it from twisting. Yeah, if it gets really twisted up, if you're stitching for a while, you can let it dangle. So if I just let it dangle like that from my piece, then sometimes it'll untwist a little bit. You might be using too long of thread. I try and use no more than 24 inches, so like 2 feet. And the reason for that too is then you're not pulling your shoulder like way far away from your piece, because your thread is so long, and that will, in theory, help like repetitive stress a little bit more. All right, and here's my last stitch here. But yeah, it's definitely not twisting as much on that reverse stitch. But there we go. So now you can see all my little guys are going in the same direction. Again, I really have no reason for that. Here it's going the opposite direction, so, you know. I mean, I could have all these go in that direction, but again, I don't know why. But your piece might have a reason why. So, like whatever, like I said, with like flowers or something, you might want them going all in the same direction. Or even like a chain, if you're trying to make something look like a knit. Like if we did 4 rows next to each other, really close, like let's say I stitch these without any gap, it would almost look like it's knit, wouldn't it? So like a knit sweater almost, with these little V's, it would look knit. In that case, you might want them all going in the same direction. You know, so there might be reasons, and that would be one way to achieve it, I suppose. Do the forward way of doing it, going up, like the sewing method, and then the reverse method coming back, and keep doing that. But anyway, there we go. He's got his little waistband going on there. But awesome. So I think we're gonna stop it there for tonight, you guys. And then tomorrow, again, we will be working on Mr. Monkey here. and we will be stitching some of these little French knots. And I'll actually probably just only stitch one because I have the one done already. But on the side, I will show you how to do more French knots, and I will probably, well, not probably, I will go over the 3 things that you're probably doing if you're having trouble with it. So Kathy's asking what would I do to fix that loop on the back. So I managed to get like this goofy loop here. So what I would probably do is, you know, let's say I got to stitch all these guys here. And so eventually I got to move over to here. Let's just, I'm going to kind of do that now. What I can do is weave in the backs of my stitches. And once I get to here, I can just kind of, let's weave in the back here. I might just kind of grab it. Like I might just weave into the back and grab it in a little loop here. So I'm almost like tying it up. There you go, like that. I wouldn't cut it and try and weave it in. That would just be like so difficult. But there, now it's kind of woven in, and now I'm kind of near the position of where I could do my next stitches there. So I'd probably just do that. No need to like do anything more really. If it's a really long loop and it crosses over some other threads, I might stitch it into the back of these guys too. Like if I go over to the next one and just kind of get my thread over it like that. Then I have 2 pieces holding down, and then I might go the same thing here. Let's just get it on one side, go over it, and get the other side. There we go. So now it's pretty well attached back there. And then I can, you know, come up at the next spot down here. And then it's flat. Nothing else is going to catch on it. I mean, sure, it might not be as pretty as the other stitches, but it does the job. Does the job in a minimal way that I can't get too angry about. So anyway, there we go, you guys. I'm going to flip you around, and I think we'll call it a night there. But yeah, tomorrow is French Knot Day. And then on Friday, we will do satin stitches. So little pretty satin stitches. We have some little itty baby ones for the teeth here. So we'll go over those. Maybe we'll try oh, here's a little bit of bigger shape. But maybe we'll do even a little bit bigger shape for the satin stitches. There are a couple ways to do that as well, and we'll explore that a little bit to get some different effects with a satin stitch. But tomorrow, French knots and the things you might be doing wrong with it. And then be sure to check your email tomorrow, because I'll have a little how-to for the French knots. Terry, it should stay this pretty. If it goes, Terry's wondering if we wash this, will it stay this pretty? Will it last? It should. Especially if you are weaving in the ends, making sure to go back and forth 3 times, that really locks it in place. So it shouldn't be coming out. Like a knot might come out a little bit, but this weaving should not. The only thing that might happen is it might just get a little softer feeling. You know, it is cotton, so it might just get a little softer look to it. But that's really it. If you have some, if you have some really large stitches, then you might have some trouble. But if you keep your stitches, you know, like a normal small stitches, not like a big gap, like here, going from here to there, that might get a little wavy if you do one big stitch. So that might not look as great, but these smaller stitches will look totally fine yet. And actually, all of these have gotten wet, have been wetted down before I put them in the hoop here, these original ones. So you can see it still does look kind of nice. So we can go over that. I'll do a little video on that sometime. I think that's a good thing to like do an embroidery. We'll give it a wash and see like a side-by-side of that. I think that'd be kind of fun to do. So, all right. Ugh, just feel like I saw a spider, but it's not. All right, you guys, I'm going to flip you around and we will call it an evening here. All right. Can't have a spider by me, so we're safe. All right. Speaking of spiders, if you checked out my, I put a little spider on my Instagram story an hour or so ago. So if you are on Instagram, make sure to look at my stories before it goes away. But here you go. Here is our little zebra. I think we got pretty far tonight. And again, this is what it'll look like when it's done. Be sure to check out the Penguin and Fish website, and it's the Penguin and Fish retirement products. So that, and I have the link here below. So I'm retiring these 3 kits, just to let you guys know. Again, I'm retiring the zebra, the monkey, and the alligator, which means we're not going to be printing them as kits anymore. So once they go away, we're doing a little special for them. And once they go away, I'm not going to be printing them anymore. So the special is if you get all 3 through Saturday, then you get a surprise gift with purchase worth at least $25, and it'll probably be a bit more than that. So that is going on right now. And we'll show you how to do these French knots and sand stitches tomorrow and Friday. So have a great evening, everyone. It was nice seeing you all again, and I'll see you tomorrow. Good night.